But I think FMD helps with that because it's easier to do that. You have to do that in action. Like I just went to dinner with a friend last night and it was so easy for me because I know my boundaries to say, oh, I'm just getting a cup of tea. You order, enjoy your dinner. And,
Yeah.
and just said briefly, what I was doing. And they're like, oh, okay. But when we hold those boundaries, it makes it easier for us to defy culture and to say, no, this is what is best for me.
Inventor and author of Primal Habits, Uninflamed, Master of You, and Body Thrive, and soon to be released, The Witch's Cancer Journal.
A weaver of words and ancient worlds into the future.
Plumbing for depth in the playground of your continual reinvention.
A wisdom rich, Agayana Yohini.
And now the moment we've been waiting for is here.
Ringleader of Club Thrive and Wellness Pro Academy.
A freedom warrior, earth mother, proud mama, devoted wife.
Not your grandmother's Ayurveda. Futurist. Biohacker. Guru and goofball.
Where truth and freedom prevail.
Evolving the ancient into the future.
Welcome to the Thrive with Cate Stillman podcast. Made for you by us.
Hey, it's Kate. This episode is on fast mimicking diet. So in my experience as an Ayurvedic medicine practitioner and as a yoga teacher, fasting was always part of what enabled transcendental type experiences and deeper levels of detox. So what we're going to explain in this episode, because in Club Thrive, which is my mastermind group for people who want to up level into regenerative habits and get their life on target for bigger and better goals, we do fast mimicking diet a couple times a year. So right now, as we're doing this, like my community is in fast mimicking diet. So what I want you to hear in this episode is a bit of like a teaching on it. And then Kristen, who's a member of Club Hero, which is our mastermind within the mastermind. This is for people who want very rapid transformation, often related to finance, career, investment. As you know, who have gotten their health on track and are like looking for that very much next level edge. She had a few questions about what's actually happening in FMD. So we're including that conversation as well. And then she's a writer. So she then will share a writing that she did on her experience. This is her third fast mimicking diet with us. Again, in Club Thrive, we look to automate habits. So you might be a Club Thrive member for just a year or two, but the habits that you'll get from us, you'll have for life. And so the return on investment of those habits, that's really what we're most interested. That's why we do what we do. If you're interested in Club Thrive, just send an email to info@clubthrive.global and we can make sure to get you on our schedule to talk about exactly what is the transformation that you would want in Club Thrive. All right. Enjoy fast mimicking diet. To me, this is something every human should know. This is something, I'll say no more. Let me talk a little bit about what fast mimicking diet is. And I just want to share with you guys, I'll go into screen share. I wrote a whole little ebook, as I will do, to make it easier for people who need more in-depth information. You do not need to read this to do it. I'll explain today like what it is and how to get ready. I was actually thinking about how to get ready, and I thought how to get ready is just don't even worry about it. Just start on day one. So that's my advice there. But I know some of you need more information. And so I'll supply that information and try to get everyone pretty fired up about it. So this is the gist of this ebook. I had a really fun interview with Dr. Mark Mattson. He was running a department of the NIH. He's done the most research on intermittent fasting, I believe, in the world. And so that was a fun interview. So I have this whole ebook with recipes and plans and all this. And what I'm going to say right now is like, this is for people who need too much information. It's all there for you. And where this is living in school is in the fast mimicking diet. That's that ebook right here, Cate's 5-Day FMD. Here's the 8 minutes of me talking about what it is. Here's me talking for another 32 minutes about a more Ayurvedic perspective on fast mimicking diet. And here's me talking about coming out of fast mimicking diet. So again, TMI, I'll just tell you this ahead of time, but it could be, it's fun when you're doing something to read about it. I know that. It gets me more fired up and more involved. I'll just go over this part first of really what it is and why we do it. So fast mimicking diet is essentially like fasting, but easier because you can have some calories. So you're eating less than 70% of what you normally eat or what is appropriate for our adult species, male or female. So rather than having somewhere between 1,200 and 2,500 calories, we're having 500 to 800 calories a day. A smaller female, like if you're 5 feet, 5'1", 5'2", you're going more towards 500. If you're a female, that's more closer to 5'8", 5'9", closer to 600 calories, like woohoo, a whole extra 100 calories. If you're a man, you're somewhere between 650 and 800 calories a day for 5 days. Now, why? What does this do? Well, the fascinating thing about the studies that have been done over 100 years, or close to 100 years, I believe the first ones were in 1930. So we're getting close to 100 years, is that they found when they did calorie restriction with rats and mice and bunnies and all the other animals we torture in science so that we can learn something about mammals, is that the calorie restricted animals were way healthier and lived a third longer, which makes me really question how many calories a day are we really supposed to eat if that is indeed the case. Okay, so why does this happen? This part in here is important. Cells enter autophagy or self-eating or catabolism. So the cells clean house, they digest debris, viruses, bacteria, and other inefficiencies. Apoptosis or cell destruction happens when cells too damaged to restore to a healthy state are just broken down and upcycled. So this whole recycling process is really an upcycling process. So your body starts to upcycle. So it breaks down what it doesn't need back into periodic table chemicals, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and upcycles. So this efficiency process does not happen outside of a fasted state. So all fast mimicking is doing, and again, I kind of go on and on about it. It's just mimicking a fasted state. So autophagy, self-eating, autoself-phagy to eat, and apoptosis, which is cell destruction. So that these two things can happen over a period of time. Now, after 16 hours, your body will start to enter autophagy. After a 16-hour fast or 16 hours on fast mimicking, and again, the mimicking just makes it easier. And we have all the science, mostly from Dr. Walter Longo, and it is Walter, not Walter. Walter, who worked with some really cool pygmy populations in South America and was able to reverse diabetes and with large numbers of people, found that like it just, there's really not that much difference between 0 calories and this 500 to 700, 800 calories. But people were able to do it way easier. And there's other potential benefits to actually keeping some metabolic processes going. All right. So he developed a kit called Prolon, which costs, I think, $250. My goal with our challenges is always to keep us below the cost of the Prolon kit. Just so that you'll naturally save this, because all the Prolon kit, according to Dr. Mark Mattson, he's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you eat candy bars for your 500 calories. Your body will go into autophagy and apoptosis. But what I did was not create a candy bar menu, as you would have guessed. I instead showed you what I did and how, again, keto calorie counting in Ayurveda. So traditional fast mimicking is 47% carbs, 9% protein, and 44% fat. Anyone who knows the keto people know that they're going to have, again, higher protein and higher fat and lower carbs. Does it matter? According to Mark, nope. And he's the leading researcher on intermittent fasting. He's saying it doesn't matter. But if you're already on a keto diet, this might help. Or if you're wanting to experiment with a keto diet while you're doing the 5-day fast mimicking, because it's kind of easy, right? You're already completely changing what's normal. So why not experiment with that? Develop more ketones in your liver, balance your blood sugar even more. So for someone like Nicole, who might want to play with keto for 5 days, like, why the heck not? right? She's already restricting her calories significantly. So that can be a fun thing to experiment with. If we look at some of the calories, it's only 100 calories more usually for men to women. So those of you who are more experienced doing this, it's going to be easier for you to cut more calories. Like the difference between doing 500 calories a day and 800 calories a day for me is significant. 800 calories is a cakewalk. 500, I'm feeling it. If you're new to this, fuck that. Do 800. It's still going to be less than half. Like, it's like start on the hot water and go to the cold. Start snow biking in the middle of the night, wearing the extra sweater. No problem. Because what I want you to have is easy wins. I want you to have a significant enough experience with easy wins so you don't quit. You don't want quitters, right? So make it easy enough to finish. What we do in Club Thrive is we build the habit of fast mimicking diet. We build the seasonal habit of detoxing. So we do 2 fast mimicking diets a year and 2 detoxes a year. I'm way more, as an Ayurvedic medicine practitioner for over 20 years, I'm way more interested in developing automated seasonal habits and automated daily habits. That is my number one objective. Is that. Why? Because that's what's going to make the biggest difference in your day-to-day, your year-to-year, and your decade to get to decade. I'm way more interested in your long game. And I'm also interested in habits that you're doing that are contagious in your household. So, for example, some of you guys saw my post on the forum of like Indy doing her first winter cold plunge in the creek. That was super. She asked me if she could come with me. Sure. Why not? Last week, she's asking me, hey, when does the fast mimicking diet start? I'm like, who are you? Right? Like, I would expect a little more rebellion from mother at this age, right? But why does she want it? Because she wants the quick shift. She feels bloated from the holidays. She ate at her grandma's house for 7 days, right? So like, she's feeling it. She's feeling those trays of Christmas cookies at 15 now that she's, gone through puberty, right? And she's like, how do I do this? This is not uncomfortable right now. So to me, the contagibility of the fast mimicking diet, that this is something that should be done a few times a year for adult humans as we mimic the habits of our primal ancestors that enabled the human technology of our own physiology. To me, that's what we are doing here. So then however easy you need to make that is fine. It's totally fine. So if you're currently overeating and you're currently eating 3,000 calories a day, you're going to feel it. At 1,000 calories a day, you're still going to be in autophagy. Are you going to be in as much autophagy as 500 calories a day? No. Do we care? Not really. Because in 6 months, if you do it again, you're going to be able to hit those 500 calorie days way easier from just having the quick wins. And we know this because we've been doing habit evolution here for 2 decades. There's all sorts of rules and all sorts of questions about beverages and caffeine and bulletproof coffee and how do you handle this with family and what do you do about hunger and all of the things. They're all in here. It is helpful to read through this to get the ins and the outs of it. But the long and the short, again, I just want everyone to go back to Mark Mattson. Like, you can eat 5 candy bars a day if they're 100 calories each and be in fast mimicking. You can add cream to your coffee and just count those calories, right? And for some people who have stricter intermittent fasting times, some people find it easier to back off on that and have like a few 50 calorie a day snacks. And you just kind of add up what you're doing. So is it calorie counting? Yes. This is the only time in my year I calorie count. This is it. And I track. This is, simply an easy way to track is just write down what you're eating and the calories right in here. You can see the calories part in here. Anyone who's been in any course with me over the last 20 years, this is the only place you ever see the word calorie showing up in our material. I'm not big on calorie counters. For me, the first time I did this and I hacked the Prolon kit to make it so that you guys don't have to spend $250 to learn what I did from the Prolon kit. There's nothing special about the Prolon kit. Like, it is medically tested. There are a bunch of supplements in it. All the information as far as like what you need to stay balanced. The number one thing is electrolytes. So the Ayurvedic recipe for electrolytes is simply salt, sugar, and a citrus juice. So a squeeze of lime or lemon, a pinch of salt, a pinch of sugar. You can, I know all of you go to the store and buy electrolyte mixes. Just get the ones that don't have caffeine, right? And read the calories on it, because you're going to have to count the calories. Some of them are loaded. I don't know if some of you have seen these electrolyte drinks, like they will have 100 calories in the drink. So you just would want to count, that 100 calories. You don't really need nearly that many calories in your electrolytes. Okay, so the keto version is less substance, more fat. So because fat is about 100 calories a tablespoon, you could basically have like 5 tablespoons of almond butter, right? And that's it for the day. So those of you who are used to a lot more bulk might not do the keto because it is higher in fat. One of the ways I do, like, my stomach definitely likes to chew on things. I eat a lot of celery. Celery costs you 10 cents a stick. Now it's 10 calories a stick of celery. So like, I'm going to blow 100 calories on celery. I want the fiber for my microbiome. Like, that's my body talking to me. I want the fiber for my microbiome in that. I often don't do keto when I'm doing fast mimicking diet because my body thrives on fairly high carb compared to others. So the more you know yourself, I would just go with that. And we're going to be there all week. Okay. So Kristen, start with what your question was around the body hunting.
My question was, what in the body goes hunting? Because I can feel it happening and I want to write about it.
Okay. So we're talking about fast mimicking diet. And what are you feeling?
I am feeling hunger, but there's more to it than that. Like, I can feel parts of my body working things out and I'm just letting it happen. There's an allowing to it. But I'm actually, for the first time, this is my 3rd time doing FMD, like, I'm enjoying the feeling of noticing where my body is working on healing. And so I'm curious, what is the entity that goes hunting and does that?
So when I tap into it, to me, it's this word Svastha, sva, self, seated in the self is Svastha, which is the definition of health. And it, to me, correlates with homeostasis. So we have allostasis and homeostasis. We have Svastha and ama. So when we're in a fasted state and we're living our lives, right? So we're in autophagy, we're in apoptosis, like we're living our lives, we're requiring energy. What's requiring energy? Everything, the body, the brain. Like, I use my brain a lot during fast mimicking diet. I probably use my brain more than my physical body in terms of calorie demand. So I intentionally use fast mimicking diet for periods of intense focus and productivity, like, meaning I'll produce something, I'll create some chunk of intellectual property. The requirements, right? So the body's requiring energy to do this. So like, what goes hunting for the viruses, the bacteria, like the fat, the adipose tissue that we need the calories from, right? We need the stored triglycerides out of the fat tissue. It's that energy demand, but there's definitely an intelligence, right, behind like what causes the differentiation between being able to digest the bacteria and the viruses versus being able to digest healthy muscle tissue. Because we don't want to lose healthy muscle tissue. And usually it's like 10 to 15 days into fat tissue before, some people even say 30 days into fasting, not even fast mimicking, but like absolute water fasting before you're digesting muscle tissue, because the body this intelligence will preserve muscle tissue, right? But it will burn through fat tissue for those triglycerides, right? And the triglycerides then get dumped in the bloodstream. Now you have energy to do the things. And a lot of the things that we're trying to do, for most people in FMD who really aren't, I would say, graduated to purpose work. And I don't mean to say, like, put a fucking crown on my head. It's not to me about that at all. Right. Some maybe will say it's a cop out for me. Right. Because like, this is what I like. I like to do deep focus work. I like to create intellectual property, but I've also just done a ton of fast mimicking and detox and whatnot in the last couple of years. So I do feel like there's a bit of a graduation into that. So in the beginning, often what's happening is there's the emotional roller coaster, right? Where there's a lot of emotions getting dumped. There's a lot of trauma from the memory of the body getting in the ancestral memory. So if we haven't done, like, the typical person coming into Club Thrive hasn't then there's a range of people. There's the healers that come in and they have done a ton of work, but then there's just like regular people, right? Who just want to feel amazing and they want to get their life on track. And they often haven't done a lot of the really deep inside work. Or they've done it like in this sort of woke era where they've done it very carefully, right? But that's not what, like, the rawness of somatic trauma work isn't. Like there's just this, like, it is to me very primal, that the body will just release the emotions and it won't be PC. And it, like, for me, like using primal sound is I'm releasing a lot of the whatever we want to say it, whatever's caught up in my scar tissue, so I'm like in the sauna releasing that. And that's just part of my morning routine. It's part of my morning routine anyway, but in like FMD, you can get so deep into everywhere because your fat's thinning and my scars are like way beneath the adipose tissue.
That sound like humming or like moaning?
Yeah. Screaming, moaning, any just vocalization of the release of the emotion, of the somatic emotion. So it's this, like, the body is making a sound. It's very animal. Like the body's just making a sound, and it's that sound that releases. And those of you who have animals, your animals will be drawn towards you, not away from you. Like they'll be drawn into soothing you so that you're not alone in that, which I think is so freaking cool, right? That the animals are healers. So I just want to awaken that. So there is this Svastha, or this homeostasis, that's drawing you into where your body needs healing, and using your hands. Like I use my hands to pull scar tissue apart, using your emotions, using your vocalization, like get into the experience. And then it keeps up leveling Svastha, it keeps up leveling homeostasis. I don't think I threw in a definition of allostasis, which might be helpful. So allo is other and stasis is the same. So Svastha is this idea of self, that the self knows the self. There's a sameness in that. And so other is the differentiation of that which is not you. And that is what's getting digested in the process, is the not you-ness. Bacteria, viruses, adipose tissue that has full of endocrine disrupting chemicals that are not part of the physiology or how the physiology wants to operate. So all that.
Yeah, that makes total sense why then it helps the purpose, the sense of purpose and the focus and the mindset, because if you release what's not you, you're much more focused. It's releasing that 80%, focus on the 20%.
Yeah. And then your intuition, like the intuition is Svastha, the intuition is homeostasis. So then you enter a higher plane of thinking. And when you trust in that, then, when you've digested doubt. So a lot of people in Club Thrive right now, they're in it to digest their self-doubt. And honestly, like that will take years for some people, right? Because there's layers and layers and layers of ancestral, of like fit into culture, tall poppy syndrome, like all those things, right? So in this day and age, where especially if you're living in a democracy, right? Like there's a lot of, and if you're in a free market economy, there's a lot that you can trust into. There's a lot of protective mechanisms within the structure of the society that actually enable you to trust much, much deeper into self-doubt. But you still have to process all that ancestral fear, right? Of like why you should just do what everybody else is doing and, have some sort of like mediocre experience.
Mm-hmm.
That's really driven by a chronic inflammation consumer culture. I mean, I hate to say things so like blah, 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 but.
Mm-hmm. But I think FMD helps with that because it's easier to do that. You have to do that in action. Like I just went to dinner with a friend last night and it was so easy for me because I know my boundaries to say, oh, I'm just getting a cup of tea. You order, enjoy your dinner. And,
yeah,
and just said briefly, what I was doing. And they're like, oh, okay. But when we hold those boundaries, it makes it easier for us to defy culture and to say, no, this is what is best for me. And the more we do it, and the more we repeat it, it just, I found it.
Yeah, we're with other people that are doing it, right? So it's like totally normal in Club Thrive. It's like in the forum, it's like everyone's on FMD day 2 right now, right? Yeah. So there's just this like, okay, we already went through like all the exceptions in the last call of like, well, what if I have bulimia, or what if I have, a history of abuse or whatever, and I associate that with emotional eating and like blah, blah, blah. And then there just gets to this point of like, you're so willing to look at all the things and become integrated that there is no, like, even with teenagers, it's like, there's just no reason good enough for those who want truth and want to get beyond doubt, want to get on purpose and want to digest the bullshit and want to like really take their life, grab the steering wheel and see where, like, say, I want to go over there. Yeah. So shifting the culture around you, right? As that gets stronger, then the homeostasis gets easier. And what's left of non-self is easier for the body to, I think, find immediately and just like purify out.
Yeah.